So the mother, overcome with this, then she says to herself, what am I going to do? She says, I have to give something to the Christ child, but I have nothing to give the Christ child. And so that's sort of where the story begins to tighten up, when the mother begins to ask the question, what can I do to give Jesus Christ? And so you're left there with that question, and then you're left there with little Amal with his crutch, and he's trying to figure out what he can do. All Amal has to stand up with is his crutch, and if he gives his crutch away to Jesus, what happens to him? He falls down. If he gives the most important thing of his life to Jesus Christ, he falls on his face. He can't herd the sheep. He can't walk even in a funny way. It really isn't funny. And all he can do is crawl on the ground like little Alan used to until some Christians came along so he can now walk in Nyaka, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, what's Amal going to do? And what's he going to do to engage in healthy social dialogue if all he can do is tell lies? He's been confronted by the Christ child, albeit through the kings, and now he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. See, what's happening is he's being confronted by Jesus Christ. That's who's confronting him. The truth of Jesus Christ. And what's he going to do? He has spent his life begging for other people's attention by exaggerating stories and telling out-and-out lies. He's spent his life with a crutch because he can't play soccer. And he can't go to the dance. He can't play basketball. He can't dance with some girl. But he can be a cripple and have people laugh at him. So that's Amal. So he really done everything to give up. If he has not his crutch, he falls. If he gives up his line, he no longer can communicate even in a stupid way, in an inappropriate way that he does. And so we're brought to this final scene, and Amal there is standing with the three kings, and the three kings are now getting ready to go and give everything they have to Jesus. And Amal finally says something to the effect. He says, maybe Jesus can use this someday. So he gives him his crutch. And at that moment, after confronting the Christ child, what Amal does is he gives that which is most important to him up to Jesus Christ, the baby. And the miracle happens that by giving all he is, which includes his disability, which includes his falsehoods, which includes his exaggerations, when he gives everything that he has, in other words, his sin, his imperfections, to Jesus, what happens to him is that his need for a physical crutch disappears, and his need for the line crutch that he always used, he no longer needs that either, because now he can speak the truth. Now, that's the way the story ends, the opera ends. And when you see it, it's a 5-tissue movie, or opera. As I got older, I figured out, and I think I'm right, I'm sure I'm right, that Menotti also understood this to be an Easter story. And so what it really is about is Easter, not so much Christmas. And he's right. Because what happens indeed, as the little boy and his mother, to be sure, and each person, me and you, those for whom you've prayed about and for whom you ask forgiveness, for those who have come to know Jesus Christ finally, what they have come to understand is that you need to take the crutches that you've used throughout your life, you know, the things you've hidden behind and the lies you perpetuated and the deceit that you contributed to and whatever else. And you need to say, I don't need this anymore. I don't need it anymore. And so you need to give it to Christ. That's number one. And what this tells us then, and I know that this is what the story is really about, is that when one puts his or hers sins and shames and guilts upon Jesus, then what happens is the crutches, watch this, the crutches that we have been carrying and we put on Jesus, they become a cross. That's what Christmas is about, the cross, after all. And so the weight of our sin then, Jesus takes upon his shoulders as the weight on our shoulders and in our hearts, and the burdens that we've been carrying become lighter. And the lighter they become, then they disappear. And then we can walk in truth. Amal gives up everything that he has to Jesus. And if a little boy can do that, surely adults can do it as well. We will, follow me, share in our carol of preparation. The elders will come forward. We'll enjoy the celebration, Holy Communion. Following that, the elders who are serving communion, 2 on this side, 2 on this side, they'll come and light off the Christ candle. 1 will go down here, 1 will go there, 1 will go here, 1 will go there. Stay seated, and we'll light our candles. Now, because I don't think too many of us know the 2nd and 3rd and 4th verses of Silent Night, which is just fine, we're going to sing it twice, the first verse, and then close that way, and to a Merry Christmas. Elders, please come forward and stay seated, and let us sing the first 2 verses of our carol of preparation, the first Noel, 56.